except for very small clips of it. But I've watched, they market these things called reconstructions. You can watch them online now, actually. And there's a guy who's assigned to take photographs of a video screen of the episode as it transmitted. His name is Raymond Cura. And these telesnaps have then been put together, and there's been some nice computer manipulation of them, and they have created what will stand in for a story, at least unless we ever recover these particular episodes.
Yeah, and the audio portions of those, I can't remember his name, but it was a fan that literally rewired his TV set to a reel-to-reel. Fan captured the audio for most of those missing stories in the BBC.
So we have every audio, but not every video. And so one of the ones that's totally missing, some stories are completely missing, others are just missing one episode. One of the stories completely missing is Pat Troughton's first story. And it's a shame because the story is awesome. The recon that I've watched and that Bruce gave me to watch is amazing. I desperately want this story to turn up one day because it's really, really good. This is a clip from the first encounter, which we do have actually that clip of the first encounter between the Second Doctor and Polly and Ben and the Daleks, who, as you can see, because of their downturned eyes, they're either staring at their cell phones or they're deactivated. I'm not sure which, but it's one or the other.
They're tweeting.
In 1967, the Second Doctor again encounters the Daleks, and this time we get this big, large thing on the left of the screen. This is an Emperor Dalek, or the Emperor Dalek. This was, keep in mind, this is all before Davros was introduced. That idea had not come up yet. You had Daleks, and the idea was they had to have a leader, so let's make a super huge freaking Dalek.
And these bumps and we cannot move.
And he can't move. He is safely stored on Skaro, so nobody can get to him. And he's gigantic, and he talks in a big booming voice. Doctor, he's really slow and really deep, so that way you know he's in charge. But he can't move, and he doesn't seem to have any armaments, so I'm like, how did you get to be the Emperor? I mean, did you just happen to be born on that pedestal, or what, and encased up there? How did you do that?
Did you get
Are
promoted
you
and
my
stuck?
mummy?
Did you get promoted and stuck in a sarcophagus? I mean, he gets to move his head. That's it. Everything else he's just hardwired in.
At the end of this story, it appears that the Daleks are wiped out. And this was intentional because Terry Nation had begun to understand exactly how much of a cash cow he had in his hands here. And he began to think internationally. He said, let's take this idea and let's take it over to America. And let's market a series in America that's just with the Daleks, no Doctor. Let's just market the Daleks, and a series maybe with some freedom fighters or some group of space whatevers, because Star Trek was around by that point, so we can put people in space and they can be fighting the Daleks, and it will be tremendous. And we all remember that series, right?
No.
No?
It was put on by Fox.
That's why.
So, 3 episodes?
And by 3
That's
you mean 0.
generous.
Yeah, for 5 years, the Daleks were gone. They were not on the screen, and part of that was because Terry Nation was trying to market them over here, and part of it was because he failed, and then he didn't really want to come home and admit that he'd been stupid and tried to do something that nobody would really be interested in. But finally, he was kind of brought to his senses, and when he was brought to his senses, by that time there was a brand new era in Doctor Who, because you had not only a new Doctor, but you had color. And now you can see the Daleks in color, and they look gold and black.
So expensive and
So yeah, not really impressive. And that's John Pertwee there, the third Doctor on the left. John Pertwee hated the Daleks. John Pertwee had no use for these little guys. They annoyed him tremendously to act with. There was nothing John Pertwee likes to act with actors. He liked to work with people in masks, so that there was like a face to work with. And half masks, yeah. And so they gave the Daleks the Ogrons, who were just giant wrestlers in half masks.
Hey, wait a minute here.
Ogrons.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're your like fourth cousins or something. But there was nothing to act with as far as John was concerned here. And so he did 3 stories with them, and they're all incredibly, well, technically 4 stories with them. They're all basically non-memorable, except for this one. Because now you have an encounter with the Daleks and the Master. And this is the last story that Roger Delgado was in before he was killed.
The original Master.
And he is the original Master. But he was the last story that he was in before being killed in an automobile accident. And the very last episode revealed that the Daleks and the Master are in this great cohesive thing to take over the universe, and then he's gone, and he's never heard from again. He's Roger Delgado, as the Master's never heard from again. And the second half of the story, the actual Dalek story, is really a rehash of Terry Nation's first Dalek story, just with different actors, but it's basically the same plot. So you can tell that they were running out of ideas by this point. Terry Nation was running out of ideas. The Daleks themselves looked like maybe they were running their course. They needed something fresh, something new, some new twist to the Dalek idea.
Hey, let's do an origin story.
Let's do an origin story.
Well, let's completely rewrite the origin.
Yeah, because the Daleks had an origin. The Daleks were evolved from this race called the Dolls, and they, not D-O-L, it's not a doll,
They
it's
were
the
the
Daleks.
Colin. They were the Colin.
No.
Not at
This
first.
was the Callans, but at first they were called the Dals, D-A-L, and they evolved from that. Whereas you had the Thals. Notice how very closely they're related there. We've evolved into this perfection. Well, Terry Nation, who's brought in to write this as well, Terry Nation says, "Oh yeah, I don't remember any of that." So we're going to make this Hitler guy, and he's going to be a scientist, and he's going to create the Daleks. And then you get Davros, played first by Michael Wisher. And Davros becomes a huge key component to what Doctor Who will, or what the Daleks will be for the second half of the classic series, because now they have a creator, now they have an actual leader, now they have this maniacal person, sort of person, who can be there to be their voice of their anger, and we see where it all came from. And
They have daddy issues.
yeah, big time daddy issues. But he's killed at the end, which explains why we never see him in all those earlier stories.
Never.
They killed Davros. But not really. I mean, he's mostly dead, but he can be brought back. And so they bring him back in another Fourth Doctor story, which again is not terribly memorable, except for the fact that it had a lot of people in dreadlocks as the enemy, called the Movellans. And I didn't put enough shot of them in here because
And white spandex.
Yeah,
White spandex, dreadlocks. Doesn't matter, guy, girl, black, white. They're all in the same outfit, same.
well, actually, they were all black too.
No, they were.
Rosta's in space.
I and I mine.
So then, after that, we get the 1980s, and the 1980s is a bit of a dead period for the Daleks, for a lot of it, until you get towards the end of Peter Davison's time, and then you get one Dalek story per Doctor. And you start to talk about this conflict. The Daleks in Peter Davison's story, this is the other problem, is they all start with almost resurrection of the Daleks. The Daleks need Davros back in order to lead them onto this greatness, and they have taken him off to put him on trial, and now they need him back, and he's been frozen, and now he's unfrozen, something like that. And
He's leftovers that's been reheated.
the only reason that I even put this in here is because it's the start of that storyline, and the Daleks actually are so horrendous, and they're squirting toothpaste. You can't really see it in the picture, but they're squirting toothpaste out of their little gill side things here.
We hope.
Well, yeah. They make Tegan so completely offended at all the deaths she sees that she leaves. And it takes a lot to offend Tegan, so they must have done a really horrible job at what they did. Speaking of horrible jobs,
We're not going to talk about this outfit. Oh well.
I really just want you to focus on the right-hand side. And don't look at the Doctor, and try not to look at Perry as attentive as it. I know, I really like to look at Perry too. But
Here.
over there, because you'll notice the Dalek is pure white. Because now you have a civil war going on. You have Davros's Daleks, which are all in color, and you have the Imperial Daleks, which are led by the Dalek Supreme, who himself is black, but all of his Daleks are white. Kind of like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So you have a revelation of the Daleks, in which the Daleks are killed by rock music. It's true. It really is true. And this was the Sixth Doctor's encounter with Daleks. And then you also get the introduction of this one-time thing. And what you discover is that they're on a planet which is a gigantic mausoleum. And what the Daleks and Davros are doing is they're harvesting bodies and putting them inside the Dalek containers and turning them into Daleks. Kind of sounds like Cyberman, doesn't it? Yeah.
But this one right here, this wonderful glass Dalek, is kind of like a glass shrimp. It's clear until it grows up, and then you can't see through it. Same premise with the Dalek. I just want to know how many of those plastic champagne glasses it took to make this.
And then you get this little sucker here, which Owen wants to talk about this one because this is his favorite Dalek. And I'll chime in at the end after he's done with his part.
Okay. Everyone's got their favorite Dalek. I know. Some people like the Dalek second, the Cultist Scarro. My personal favorite is the Abomination himself. And no, we're not talking about the one who designed Sylvester's vest. We're talking about the Heavy Weapons Dalek, which is this lovely gentleman right here on the right, with no wire whisk, no plunger, just one big gun. And they refer to this lovely chap as the Abomination because he is guano crazy.
If you read the novelization of Remembrance of the Daleks, what you'll discover is that the Special Weapons Dalek is basically a special needs Dalek. I'm not being funny here. I'm actually really serious. He is a Dalek that has some mental issues, retardation issues, and they are exploiting him. And there's an entire chapter written from this Dalek's perspective, and it is truly one of the saddest things in Doctor Who that I've ever read, because he knows he's being taken advantage of, but he can't stop it. And part of him doesn't want to stop it, and it's just an amazing chapter of abuse that he suffers through, and it's the one time that you truly feel sympathetic in the classic series. Is the one time you can feel sympathetic for any of the Daleks because of this perspective just within the book. But it's only in the book; it's not portrayed in the TV series at all.
There's also talk about he suffers because the power plant for that one big gun. You guys know how tough a Dalek is. It's like you can fire everything at it, Dalek doesn't go anywhere. This Dalek, two regular Daleks are scorch marks after he fires his gun one time. Also, he's also the most radical change in the design of the Daleks. If you notice, his dome has a lip around the edge, but no eye stalk. No eye stalk, no arms. He is the most, out of all the Daleks, save maybe the Emperor, the most unique Dalek of the entire thing. Some stories, some of the novels and comic books, they talk about the possibility of whole fleets of these guys. But in the majority of the Doctor Who universe, there's only one, maybe one at a time. Because sometimes it may be one who gets stuck in this job, who gets radiation poisoning and goes insane. And he does show up twice though. How many here have seen Asylum of the Daleks?
Yeah.
You saw him in there as well. Those are the only two times you ever see this wonderful gentleman. And like I said, the fact that he's also one of the Imperial Daleks, because you can't really see it, but the bottom part of him is in the, even though it's kind of scorched up, and it's not as pretty and shiny as the Imperial Dalek behind him, he's still an Imperial Dalek and follows the Dalek Emperor.
But that was the last Dalek story of the classic era. And then Doctor Who went off the air for various reasons in 1989. And while it was kept alive in the magazines and a whole series of books, and there were many books about Dalek adventures as well, that incorporated the Daleks, although those all had to be negotiated through Terry Nation and eventually through his estate. You kept the Daleks around. For 14 years, or 16, 17, anyway, from 1989 until 2005, however long that really is, you have and you have this.
Oh, hold on, we forgot one aspect about the Daleks. The Daleks, you hear them, you never see them in the 8th Doctor movie, the Doctor Who movie with
I haven't done that yet.
Well, the one thing is, I don't know who got hold of these Daleks, but someone has been tinkering with the Daleks. I mean, when they're giving someone to the Doctor did not, the word exterminate is not said towards the Doctor at all, you know that whoever was writing this was not quite up to speed on what a Dalek should be.
I can talk about the Eighth Doctor if we have
Yeah,
time.
well, I was going to call you up when we did. Let me get through this point here. We all see what the Dalek is doing here, right? Going upstairs! For 25 years, the joke was you just put the Dalek in front of a flight of stairs, you run up those stairs, 3 stairs, and you're good, you know?
Scott Rugburn.
And then they said, well, you know, I think we can finally figure out how to make a Dalek run up the stairs. That's awesome, and then the series was over. And so we got this one shot of it, and a lot of us were like, oh man, the Daleks are so terrifying, but now we don't see them anymore. And then, yeah, it was off the air, and then it comes back, as Ogre says, in the 8th Doctor, you hear the Daleks, and they're aligned, and they're giving things to the Doctor, and it doesn't make a single lick of sense, like so much of that movie didn't make a lick of sense. You also had a new Emperor Dalek. Sort of. Pac-Man Dalek, yes. Sort of, because underneath this Emperor Dalek, oh wait, it's Davros, I'm sorry. It's Davros. Davros is just a head by this point. It is a lot of wires in there, but he's just a head. And, you know,
Pokeball.
it's like Futurama. You can carry him around in that way. Okay, so yeah, then you get this conflict. Now this isn't strictly chronological because I'm going to go and talk about things that were revealed just this last year. But we know the Time War happened. And we know the Time War was between Time Lords and the Daleks. And something happened there. And JD, you want to come up and talk about?
Now is the time.
Yeah. Where people can hear you.
Preferably.
Come on, Jake.
Okay, as far as the Time War, we don't know a whole lot about it. There were a lot of rumors that at first it was going to be the Eighth Doctor, and they're even going to do an audio series on that, but it never happened. But the Eighth Doctor did battle the Daleks in a few audio stories and 3 books. Like the Eighth Doctor's gives more of a backstory to that 1996 movie. Like the Dalek and the Daleks and the Master are actually in cahoots as part of a plan to get the Doctor. It talks about that. War of the Daleks. It's a good book. It's where Davros' Daleks battle the Imperial Daleks. And then there's Legacy of the Daleks, which is a sequel to the first Doctor story, where he leaves Susan. And the end of that has an interesting twist with the Deadly Assassin, because it tells how Susan actually stole the Master's TARDIS and then nearly killed the Master. She used his own weapon on him, and that's why it was how at the beginning of Deadly Assassin.
That old roasted Master bit, the decrepit, you know, it looked like he'd been put over a flame a little too long. Yeah.
Cajun style Master.
And then they also thought that the Time War was, it's still not really clear if the 8th Doctor and the 9th Doctor and the War Doctor are involved in the Time War. So
I think, in my opinion, it's actually clear that it's the 8th and the War Doctor, because since he regenerates right at the end of the 50th anniversary, and he looks in the mirror when in Rose, and he's obviously not familiar with his face, I get the feeling there's really just 8 and War Doctor that are in the Time War, and the war itself is over, resolved by the time the regeneration happens. But that's me. That's my opinion.
Not bad, I've had worse, but look at the ears.
Jay, let me ask you something. Does that explain why the Master was tried on Scarrow in the movie?
I don't know that anything explains that.
In the movie, the Master was tried on Scarrow.
Yeah.
And they never explained why he would be tried on the homeworld of the Daleks.
okay, I'll try to explain that quick. We're short on time. Okay, the Master, after survival, he was dying, and so he found this planet with these snake-like creatures that like take all a person's memories, emotions, their whole being. And so he swallowed them because that's what they're supposed to do. And then the Daleks, it was a plan where the Daleks are actually working with them. And they're like, okay, we'll fry you, you'll turn into a snake, then you'll get the Doctor.
So it's a cahoots thing.
It's a ruse.
Yeah, it's a ruse, the whole thing.
It's just like.
But it's the Time War, you know, so thanks, Russell. You explains everything.
But I do hope that they do the Time War, have a little bit more on the Time War with maybe the War Doctor.
I'd love to see the War. How many of you like to see the War Doctor back again? That was the best thing about the 50th anniversary special was John Hurt as the War Doctor. So in 2005, they bring back Doctor Who, which is where I figured a lot of you come in, right? But they were going to do it without the Daleks. Because Terry Nation's estate, Terry Nation died in 1997, and Terry Nation's estate was very difficult to negotiate with. And the rights issues are very different in England than they are here in America. In America, we're accustomed to the idea that if you create something, it's generally owned by some big corporation, and that's all you have to worry with is whatever corporation controls the show, and they get all the rights. In England, it's individual rights. If you're a creator, you retain control of a goodly portion of the rights to the use of your character. And Terry Nation was very, very concerned because his characters, the Daleks, have been used in comedy sketches and been made to look rather silly at times, and he didn't like that. So he really was very reluctant to have them marketed for anything after Doctor Who was taken off the air, and now it's the estate itself, and they don't know what this new show is going to be like.
My precious.
Well, guys, we also have to remember, there was a Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny movie that had Daleks in it.
Yes,
They
there was.
had a Dalek.
Looney Tunes, back in action.
Yeah!
Now you understand why they were protected of the Daleks.
That's a concern. Yeah, that's part of that concern. But they get them secured, and so you get the episode Dalek, which is an amazing story, and shows you exactly how terrifying the Dalek should have been the whole time in the classic series. Now you get it really in your face because one Dalek does incredible damage to everything.
It also gives some of us fans of the novelizations that preceded the new series a little hope that at least some of the story elements from the novels would creep their way into the new show.
A lot of Dalek is actually based on a 6-Doctor Big Finish audio called Jubilee. It's much of the same idea of a crippled Dalek encountering Doctor and the repercussions of that encounter. So you get that. You also get, flying Daleks. Oh my God. Now they're going to fly through the air? It was bad enough when they were just climbing stairs. Now they're going to fly through the air, and you get a new Emperor.
But this
You get
Emperor,
Transformer Emperor.
this Emperor does have one advantage. He's got arms.
Solid cinder.
And since Hitler really isn't popular anymore, we're going to make him an evil cult leader.
Yeah, because that was important. You get this confrontation. Because this isn't war, it's what?
Pest control.
Pest control. This is pest control. I loved it. You get Daleks versus Cybermen, which is something that you had fans just chomping at the bit for such a long time, and you finally get it on the screen, and it was a great moment. And then you get this.
I really don't want to talk about
Yeah, I
this
really
in
don't want
front
to
of
talk
this
about this
audience.
either.
No relation to Cthulhu. None at all.
This is not a joke that I can make with children in the
Again,
room.
yeah, there's not much, and this was a very bad choice on the part of
This
everyone.
is the best dressed Dalek ever had.
Urotsuki Dalek.
There were several times in the classic series that you cracked open a Dalek, you got to see some aspect of what was inside, especially in the 20th anniversary story, The Five Doctors. You get this green blob with tentacles. They upped that a little bit now, and so now it's sort of a slimy off pink, and it's got a face, which is terrifying. And that's what's inside a Dalek, so here you go, here's what's actually inside there. There's this little gelatinous blob of hate that is encased inside all of these Daleks, and that's what you end up with. And they bring back Davros,
Again.
who is apparently cannibalizing himself. But also, I really wish that they'd done more with him. I like the character of Davros, and I would have liked to have seen them find a way to incorporate him. Not every story, but let's just not forget about him because he should be out there, you know. And then there are the Power Ranger Daleks.
Go, Power Daleks.
Skittles, taste the Daleks.
Guys, think this way. We know they truly can't be Power Ranger Daleks. Jason David Frank is not in a green one anywhere in the series.
I don't know what they were thinking. I'm glad they only thought it one time. The design, the color scheme, oh my God. I know. Well, hey! It's terrible.
I'm sorry.
They're the Power Rangers of evil.
I'm sorry.
Worst Rangers ever.
I'm sorry. I like the new Paradigm Dalek.
Me
For
too.
one simple fact. I'm 6'5". If I ever want a chance to wear a Dalek suit, I have to go with one of these guys.
Okay, so we got two who don't like them, two who do. Brooks, what's your feeling? Did you like the? You don't. Your thumbs down from Brooks.
Here,
Okay. Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
classic Daleks.
Yay! Classic Daleks. Yay!
New Paradigm Daleks.
It's about split here too. So
We
I-
win.
Okay, so now I want to end this up with some fun stuff here because we are running close on time here. I want to bring you back to the idea of Dalek mania. In the 1960s, the people in the 1960s thought they could market anything, and especially when it came to something as popular as the Daleks, they went to great efforts to market all kinds of crazy things. You saw Daleks everywhere. You saw them trying to get on double-decker buses in the middle of London, just for no particular reason. You know, we want to go on a tour. We want to see the South Sea. So you saw the weirdest things, like you have the wind-up Daleks. I mean, that's not too weird. This is marketed for children, but wind-up little Daleks so you can terrorize your cat or whatever. Daleks sang.
Oh, God, no.
Christmas, the Dalek. Yeah, and this is not Belinda Carlisle. This is not the Belinda Carlisle Go-Go's. No, this is a different Go-Go's. 1964, I want to say, you have Christmas special with Daleks. Yeah. You can eat the Daleks. Hey, yummy. You can also apparently eat K9, the TARDIS, and some Cybermen as well. So you have every food group possible there. You can win a real life-size Dalek. I wish I'd gone through the efforts of actually getting the actual picture of this thing, because it's like someone took a plastic tent, drew a Dalek on it, and draped it over a small child. And that's real, that's life-size if you're 4 foot tall, and not terribly threatening.
Suffocate.
Here in America, you know, they tell you don't put your plastic bag over the head. I guess they don't have the same concern over in England about suffocation. Now, you can have chocolate and mint-flavored lollipops in the shape of Daleks, advertising the Dalek death ray, which you put in your mouth.
And again, a joke I can't make with kids.
Yeah. And again, as if little wind-up Daleks weren't good enough, now you have little Rollickin Daleks, which you don't even have to wind up, you just push them, and they have plastic. They're plastic, and they'll break the first time they hit the wall.
That's why you can't find them very often.
Yeah, and if you do, they look like they've been through the Time War, because they're all missing pieces. But these are my favorite. These are my favorite. Here is Doctor Who's anti-Dalek fluid neutralizer, or as we would call it, a water pistol. But it kills Daleks with water, just like rock music in the 80s killed the Daleks. Water will kill the Daleks in the 1960s.
Still not as impressive as Ace with a baseball bat.
Oh, but Ace wanted one of these, I'm sure, and she wouldn't settle for this, so she had to have one of these.
Bazooka!
It's a neutron exterminator.
It's a bazooka.
It's a bazooka. But it was called the neutron exterminator because we all know Doctor Who reveals his new weapon in his fight against the Daleks, because I sure remember the episode where he carried one of these around. He was brought up, he pulled, the second Doctor is maligned forever in the comic books for having pulled out this death ray and killed these insect-like things, and Beast of Destruction died or something, and it's so out of character. I'm pretty sure a bazooka is out of character for the Doctor as well. But hey, for your small 6-year-old, totally in good shape there. Yes.
It was probably designed by Unit.
Those crazy bricks.
Out of character for the Doctor, but his companion can have all the explosives.
We can only guess that maybe lightsabers are next.
We're screwed.
I just want to correct.
Royally screwed.
Wait, back up. The Doctor did carry or point a gun at other baddies. Can anybody name one instance in the classics?
Earthshock. Earthshock's one.
End of Time.
End of Time is one. That well, they're not classic, but he said classic, but yeah.
Oh no, I know.
No, I consider you pointing a gun at anyone a classic moment.
Oh well, okay, all right. But yeah, if you put lightsabers in the extension there, the Daleks, and you've got some serious trouble. But hey, you know, we've run the Daleks through the ringer. We've taken them through a lot of stuff, but
There are worse things.
there are potentially worse things, because here you have an encasement, you have a ball of hate, you have something for the Doctor and all of us to focus all of our negative energies on, but still, it's a better actor than Kristen Stewart. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and attending our panel. I'll be here all weekend. The rest of it will be in and out at various times, who knows. But if you love Doctor Who, please, on Facebook, go find the Tulsa Doctor Who viewing Society. Become a member of that. We keep you up to date with our meetings and with other Doctor Who pertaining information here in Tulsa. Thank you for turning out. I'm so happy to see you all. We are all happy to see you all.
Hey guys, one last
Stonehenge.
Hey guys, one last question. Do you want us to try and do another Doctor Who panel next year?
Yeah!
That's what we need to know.
Brooks, don't back up. Jay wants to take a picture. They always say
Yes, sure.
Ginger a choice?
No.